I stayed average for years, and I'm not even talking about just being broke or out of shape. I'm talking about being that guy who had potential, but never did anything with it. You know the type, you look around at your friends from, say, back in high school, and some of them are just killing it. New house, they got a promotion, they just seem to have their shit together. And you're still there. Same apartment, same job, same problems. And for the longest time, I couldn't figure out why. Until I realized that there were three specific things keeping me trapped in mediocrity. So here's the first thing that I guess kept me average for years. I was constantly looking outside myself for proof that I was worth something. Let me paint you the picture. I'd be at the gym, and instead of focusing on my workout, I'm checking like who's watching, right? I'd pick exercises that looked impressive for the aesthetics rather than what I actually needed. I'd post a gym selfie and then the next hour I was checking how many likes I was getting. Man, if it didn't get enough attention, I'd feel like shit. Like if it did well, I'd feel good for maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes. And then I'd need the next hit. Or even with work. I'd have a good idea in a meeting, but I just wouldn't speak up, unless I was sure everyone would think what I was going to say was brilliant. So I'd just sit there saying nothing while some other guy who was half as smart as me, but twice as confident would get all the credit. And dating was the worst. I changed my entire personality depending on what I thought the girl wanted to hear. Like if she was into fitness, then suddenly I was a gym rat. If she was artsy, then I'm this deep creative guy. I put on that mask. I had zero sense of who I actually was. But here's the brutal part. Even when I got validation when I was chasing, it never lasted. The girls that text back, that promotion, those Instagram likes, they felt good for that moment. Then I just needed more. I kept needing to feed this urge. The shift happened when I started asking myself, what would I do if nobody was watching? Would I still work out if I could not post about it? Would I still have opinions if nobody validated them? Would I still try to improve if nobody noticed? And second thing that kept me average, I had zero standards for who I was allowed to be. Sunday night, I'd be lying in my bed making all these plans. Tomorrow I'm going to hit the gym. I'm going to wake up early, eat clean, work on my side project, read for an hour, all that stuff. Monday morning alarm goes off, I'd hit snooze 3 times, scroll my phone for 20 minutes, and then rush to get ready for work. And then by 10 a.m., all those plans were dead. And you know what I tell myself? I'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow never came. It was always tomorrow. I'd do this with everything. I'd sign up for a course, never finish it, buy the books, but never read them. I'd download fitness apps and then use them for a week. My browser history was just dozens of how-to articles and YouTube videos about changing your life, but I never actually changed anything. And the worst part, I had higher standards for everyone else. If a friend was constantly late, I'd get annoyed. If someone at work was unreliable, I'd lose respect for them. But I was constantly being unreliable to myself. I remember one night I was lying there feeling like shit because I'd broken another promise to myself. And I thought, if I treated a friend the way I treat myself, they'd stop talking to me. That hit different. The third thing that kept me stuck, I was trying to fix my entire life simultaneously. You know that feeling when you watch a motivational video on, say, Sunday night? You're fired up. You're going to change the world, change everything, change your life. New workout routine, meal prep, wake up at 5 a.m., read for 30 minutes, start a business, learn a new skill, all that stuff. I'd write it all down. Maybe even make a schedule. I felt so organized, so motivated. Monday and Tuesday, I'd actually stick to something, or some of it at least. Wednesday, I'd skip the gym because work was crazy. Thursday, I'd order takeout because I was too tired to cook. And by Friday, I'm back to my old habits, just feeling like a failure. And then I'd spend the weekend watching more motivational content, telling myself next week will be different. I thought if I could just get disciplined enough, motivated enough, I could change everything at once. But what actually happened was I'd overwhelm myself and then just throw in the towel. I'd just say, fuck it. It's too hard basket. It's like trying to learn 5 languages at the same time. You're not going to master any of it. Now, the breakthrough came when I stopped trying to become a completely different person overnight. Instead of chasing everyone's approval, I started building things that actually mattered to me. Real things. Not for Instagram, not for validation, but because they aligned with who I wanted to become. Instead of making grand promises I couldn't keep, I started with embarrassingly small ones. Make my bed, do 10 push-ups, read 5 pages. Promises I literally couldn't fail at. Instead of trying to transform my entire life, I picked one pillar and then just focused on that for months. Now, if you're watching this and you're thinking, okay, this makes sense, but how do I actually do this systematically? I've got something that breaks down the exact process that I used, and I'll tell you about it later in the end. But first, I got my body right. Not for attention, not to impress anyone, but because I wanted to respect the man in the mirror. And then I worked on my mindset. Daily reading, journaling, thinking for myself instead of just consuming other people's content and other people's thoughts. And then I focused on my presence, how I carried myself, how I spoke, how I showed up into rooms. And once I fixed those 3 things, everything started changing. I stopped checking my phone every 5 minutes for validation. I stopped caring if people liked my post. I stopped reading other people's approval and needing, their validation to feel good about myself. I started keeping promises to myself, which meant I trusted myself to get bigger goals. And when you trust yourself, you start acting like someone who deserves good things. People started noticing, but in a different way. Like they weren't noticing anything different in my performance. They were noticing my presence. Women were more interested because I wasn't trying so hard to impress them anymore. Men were showing respect because I carried myself differently. Opportunities started appearing because I was building real skills, not just talking about them. Now, if you're stuck in average right now, here's what I want you to do. Stop performing and start building. You gotta ask yourself, what you'd do if nobody was watching. That's where the real growth begins. Just pick one promise to yourself and keep it. Start small, something small that you can't fail at, and then just build from there. Focus on one area at a time. Master your body, then your mind, then your presence. Don't try to change everything at once. Now, firstly, drop respect if you're ready to stop settling for average and start becoming someone that you actually respect. And look, if you want the complete system that I used, the exact step-by-step framework for building all 3 pillars, without overwhelming yourself, again, I've put together a free 7-day masculine reset. It's the first link in the description. It breaks down basically how to build an unshakable discipline, an athletic physique, and a magnetic presence. Plus, you'll get the habit stacking system that I used to go from breaking every promise to myself to never missing. Now, if you want to fast track basically this whole process, this transformation, and work with me directly to basically just customize this approach to your situation, there's also another link there to book a call. And again, we'll see if it makes sense to work together. One-on-one, no pressure, just an option if you want to accelerate your transformation and get some personalized guidance. Stop trying to impress people and start becoming impressive. There's a difference. Catch you guys in the next one.